Hello everybody, Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw. I am currently flying. Well, I'm not on a plane right now, but I'm heading to LAIC, but I wanted to take some time to make a Mega Pigeot EX video because this Pokemon just dropped. I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks about obtaining this Pokemon, some easy decks that you can actually cheese the battles with. I found that this one, especially with lightning decks, you can kind of auto battle your way through it, and a Pidgeot EX deck that I made. And I'm going to talk to you about the card a little bit. So first, let's talk about the card before I hop into the strategy around the event battles and the deck that I made. Mega Pigeot EX requires 3 energy to do 100 damage, which is always a tricky place to be in my opinion. And it has 210 HP, which is not too shabby. It is also a normal type card, which is really cool because we can pair it with something like Ilima, which I'll talk a little more about later when I talk about the deck. But that gives us some fun options for pulling this card even when your opponents think they're about to get 3 points off of you. The tricky thing about this attack is it not only does damage, but it also removes energy from your opponents. It will remove energy for every heads you flip. You flip 3 coins. However, if you flip no heads, not only do you not remove energy, you also deal no damage. So it's pretty high reward, but it's also somewhat high risk. And to be fair, when you are flipping 3 coins, it is unlikely that you are going to get 3 tails, but it's not that it will not happen. Most of the time I was playing this, I found that I hit every single attack. I think I maybe missed 1 attack. There are some thoughts as to whether or not you would run a card like Will in a deck like this. Will is interesting because it guarantees that your attack will hit, and it guarantees that you will remove 1 energy. Will, after all. And of course, it makes it more likely that you'll remove 2 energy as opposed to not using Will at all. So that could be a cool combination, but with how unlikely it was, or at least while I was playing it, how rare it was that I was missing attacks, I actually don't feel like I would run this in a Pidgeot deck, but it's definitely something I would try. The other cool thing about this card is there are multiple lines from Pidgey, right? And I really like the one from Genetic Apex that allows you to move your opponents around, essentially kind of like a free Sabrina, right? I really have enjoyed that card a lot, and I pair it in this deck, which I will show you a little later. Let's talk about the event really quick. Each rung of the event, as always, has specific missions inside of it that you want to complete the first time you play them, outside of the last one, of course, because you're going to be grinding that one the most. You have a higher likelihood of getting packs as you continue to go up the rungs, with the final rung when you're battling the final Mega Pigeot EX deck, giving you a guaranteed promo pack every single time. So for each of the missions right here, I'm just going to go ahead and show you the decks I used. This first one, here's what I used for the second mission right here. Here is what I used for the third mission. And finally, here is what I used for the last mission. Now, I will have to say that the last mission is honestly not that difficult if you're running things like Oricorio. I also found that Tapu Koko is just very strong into this deck, and your opponent's deck bricks constantly. I get what they're going with, and it's definitely a consideration for a Mega Pigeot deck, but I've just found this particular event to not be that difficult. As long as you're running a lightning deck and you have Ori, your opponent can't do much at all. That's the unfortunate thing about some of these decks. While Mega Pidgeot's really cool, there are just a lot of things it can run into that shut it down in some pretty big ways. Let's talk about the deck that I built for this, and this is by no means the best deck, but this is the first deck I built with Mega Pigeot, and it does a couple cool things that I was pretty excited about. First, I want to mention that I have Lucia in this deck, and because of that, I'm running 2 of the 50 HP Pidgeys. You definitely could run the 60 HP Pidgeys, but I thought this would be a cool way to use the 50 HP Pidgeys, grab either Pichu or the Pidgeys with Lucia, and then the rest of my Pokeballs can be looked after for finding our Oricorios. Next, we have Ilima in this deck. I haven't found opportunities to use multiple Ilima, and I usually find it later in the match, so I ended up having 1 Ilima instead of 2. I originally thought I was going to be running 2 Ilimas, and the thing I really like about this is this allows me to make plays with both Mega Pigeot and with Pidgeot. So I can put it into the active spot, I can take some damage, I can pull all of it back and replace it back onto my bench. The only thing you have to watch out for, of course, is using up too many rare candies or just knowing which version you put down. Did you put the version down with Pidgeotto, or did you put the version down with the rare candies? Outside of that, I think this deck is mildly strong, but if I'm being honest, I don't love Mega Pigeot. I wish I did. I think it's okay. I think all of the promo EXs are relatively bad, unfortunately. And I don't think this one is the greatest, but it has a ton of HP, and in the right circumstances, you will run into some decks that you absolutely demolish, because not only are you dealing some decent damage at 100, but you are also taking multiple energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. I do think when you're looking at a normal card like this, there are probably a few paths you could go. Most likely, it's going to be something like water, so you can use some of the water healing cards or water ramp cards, or you could possibly look at lightning, because you can pair it with Oricorio. You can use things like Elemental Switches and Zeraoras, Pichus, etc. I do think the coolest thing about this card is its typing. We will be able to find a lot of interesting decks that we can put this into, and by no means do I think this is the absolute most stellar deck of all time for it. It's just what I ended up using and having some pretty fun matches with. We got a few wins, we had a few losses, ran into a couple meta decks that we did very well into, and a couple meta decks that honestly stomped us a few times. Every once in a while, this deck can draw pretty poor. That's just the nature of Pocket without a draw engine, which is why we have something like Copycat. So enjoy a pretty fun match. We actually ran into a mirror, almost a mirror. They had like a different Pidgeot deck, so maybe I'll put that one in here. I hope this was helpful. I hope it gave you guys some insight as to how to complete the event, and I also hope Boy, I need to get on a plane. All right, I love you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the match. We did it.
you